There's a sense of elegy in the film, a sense that something wonderful is coming to an end, and the way to handle that is not to regret it, but to treasure the memories. The program's actual sound man and house band play themselves, and Keeler drives everyone crazy by being so casual he can barely make it to the microphone. And the music and the jokes all work, and the timing between Tomlin and Streep is awesome. Thumbs way up.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you're going to enjoy your cuddling with this movie. I'm giving it thumbs down.
You're not.
I do think,
You're giving this movie thumbs down.
I am giving this movie thumbs down. I'm going to tell you why.
You have the appearance of a human being, but in fact, you are an android.
Well, you're the one cuddling with a movie.
Our first film is Disclosure, and here's a picture that starts out like a smart movie about corporate infighting, then throws in some cheap sex, and then just wears out its welcome with pedestrian plotting until I completely lost interest in the outcome. Michael Douglas, who has the worst luck with women he dates in the movies, he plays a Seattle computer executive here whose job is in jeopardy as Disclosure begins. Complicating Douglas's life, the woman who gets the vice president's job is an old flame. She's played by Demi Moore in another portrayal of a successful woman in business who is an absolute witch. Incredibly, Moore promptly seduces Douglas in her office on her very first night on the job. This is a totally preposterous scene, no matter how much you like looking at these actors' bodies. Disclosure turns into a sexual harassment melodrama as Moore accuses Douglas of coming on to her. But we can't understand her motivation completely, and so we begin to resent Disclosure because even though it's based on a novel by Michael Crichton, this obviously plays like a project that was slapped together in response to the public's fascination with the Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill case. But I thought the story was riddled with holes and that Demi Moore's character was a complete joke. I put this picture against Michael Douglas in Fatal Attraction or The War of the Roses, and it's really lacking. It may become a hit, but I really don't think it's a good movie.
I don't think it's a good movie either, and I was amused by what you said about Michael Douglas. You know, with most Hollywood leading men, they have lots of problems, and then they get the girl. With his movies, he gets the girl, and then he has all the problems.
Well said. To come on to him, I want to take right at the premise, Roger, for her to come on to him the first night on the job is this is supposedly a woman who is smart enough to rise in the corporate structure. Not easy in the computer world.
Yeah.
But gets dumb when sex becomes involved. Gets dumb when violence becomes involved.
She has all the sexual sophistication of a Hell's Angel in this movie.
It's really...
Okay, our next movie is not a strong piece of work. It's The Master of Disguise with Dana Carvey cementing his title as the Rich Little of our time. If only that were a good thing. Carvey is a likable guy. I think he can be a brilliant mimic, but his skills are wasted in this uninspired mess. For some reason, The Master of Disguise chooses to lampoon movies that are 20 to 30 years old. The Exorcist, Jaws, 10, and Scarface.
Not a chance. What else you got?
Crab cakes.
With your attitude, they should be called crabby cakes.
The Master of Disguise does have one achievement, the all-time record for most outtakes, deleted scenes, and direct-to-the-camera jokes after the movie is over. But this abundance of alternate takes and characters that weren't even in the actual movie is like an on-screen confession that they didn't have much of a story when filming started. Another odd touch are the cameos in the movie itself by B-list celebrities like Bo Derek, track star Michael Johnson, and pop singer Jessica Simpson, who all have to be identified by name, which kind of defeats the joke of the cameo. If The Master of Disguise had been a free cable movie, well, I still wouldn't have recommended it.
I wouldn't even recommend it if you cut it up and made it into ukulele picks.
Uh-oh, look out.
This movie, it never ended, and it was only 80 minutes long. I'm looking at my glow-in-the-dark watch here. I think the movie itself was only about 60 or 65 minutes in length.
Right.
And that's why they had to have all of the outtakes and credit cookies, which went on. And instead of listing the songs and then having an outtake, they list 3 songs and have an outtake. And then 3 more songs and have an outtake.
Yeah.
Finally, they have the caterer up there. Well, they don't exactly have an outtake for the caterer, but you get my point.
I would have liked to see the caterer.
And then at that point, finally, it looks like it's over. The projectionist closes the curtains.
Yeah.
And then there's Dana Carvey on the curtain saying, wait a minute, the movie isn't over yet. And I'm going, you know.
That's a scene from our next movie, a forgettable comic action picture called Masterminds, and to prove it's forgettable, I'll tell a tale out of school. Roger and I have a meeting each week with our production team to decide what order we're going to review the movies on this show. Well, someone names the movies, and then we discuss where to place it in the order of the 5 movies on the program. But in the case of Masterminds, neither one of us could remember what it was about. We had just seen it a few days before. We had to be reminded. One of the problems with the movie Masterminds is that the kid, the hero, is a complete bore. And the only way to sustain interest is to root for Patrick Stewart to win, even with his lame dune buggy race here. No sense of consistent tone or style. That's why it's so forgettable. Thumbs way down for me on this one, and try to remember the name Masterminds, because I couldn't. You don't want to stumble into that picture
this is
thinking
one
it's
of those
something else.
movies. This is one of those movies. While when you're sitting there, you're saying there is nothing to think about.
Right.
There is nothing on the screen that interests me. In a way, it's as if, you know how protons can kind of go through lead and not hit anything? This movie went through my mind and didn't hit anything.
I'll pass the obvious joke.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, because it went through your mind too.
Okay.
This movie is vacuous. This is
Nothing.
air. This is vacuum. This is nothing. This is a complete waste of time.
And this is the time when we know we have one of the great jobs of all time, but this is when it's rough, because you're being robbed of your life.
2 hours, gone forever. Gone forever.
On some level, I think we're supposed to believe that Sam Neill's Dr. Alan Grant could be duped into another visit to an island populated by ravenous raptors and Spinosauruses who are more cunning than Freddy Krueger and more bloodthirsty than Jason from the Friday the 13th movies.
Oh, come on, Richard. This was fun. This was a classic summer B picture. I even liked the running time. The fact it didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't overwrought like Lost World Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah.
It was really...
You're glad it ended when it did.
It was really... I wanted more. The gore is not extreme here.
No, it's
And there's a
PG-13.
fabulous scene where they recycle that parasail in an attempt to rescue the kid from
Oh,
the flying
really?
lizard. I love that sequence. Come on, give it up. Come on.
You know what? First of all, okay, it's summertime, so you're saying if it were released in November, you'd give it
I'd love it in
thumbs down?
November. It'd be a great fall B picture. It is in the great tradition of B pictures. It does exactly what it's made to do.
Well, it's made to, give us a few laughs and a few scares. There are no
It does.
scares in this thing.
Oh,
we
there
know
are.
every time when a
come on.
dinosaur is going to peek out from behind the tree or not really be
Oh,
dead.
there are a
And
couple
Roger,
of times
the
when those
humans
dinosaurs
in
turn
here-
around and look at those people, and it's
please.
pretty good.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
come on.
Next movie in our next film is a real step down in class. It's Highlander, the final dimension, the third in the series, and there are signs, I think, that the audience is finally getting hip to the generally abysmal quality of sequels, and yet this Highlander opened fairly big last week. Well, let's see if I can close it. Mario Van Peebles, looking a bit like a young black Jerry Lewis and talking like a method actor, plays the villain, and Christopher Lambert is the good guy, the Highlander. Each can kill the other only by cutting his head off. Obviously, the film concludes with a mano, leading to a decapitato de la cabeza. I saw Highlander, the final dimension, with 13 other people last Monday night in a theater in Boston. I was getting paid. Why they stayed there, I'll never know. The filmmaking was shoddy. The wavy blue lines of energy that flow from victim to killer were straight out of a cheap horror picture. And Mario Van Peebles and Christopher Lambert were laughable without being funny. Thumbs down on what hopefully is the final installment of this Highlander series.
Boy, I hope so. These movies get worse and worse and worse. This one had me thinking back nostalgically to that one that had the shield around the Earth.
Yeah,
Remember?
number 2, I think.
That's right, to collect the sun's energy. Without going into everything that's wrong with the movie, which is everything that there is in the movie, how about that last scene where once again the duel, the swordplay, has to take place in one of these basic movie sets. It's a factory with flames and steam shooting out from everywhere as they run up and down the catwalks.
And no
that
workers.
is
And no
no
workers.
workers. Nobody there.
They can't
What's the
afford it.
factory for? Who knows? That is the most overworked cliche in action pictures.
Absolutely.
Okay, next we have Cheaper by the Dozen 2. I wonder how many meetings they had before they came up with that title. And didn't we just see this movie a couple of weeks ago? And wasn't it called Yours, Mine, and Ours? You got your two oversized families with kids who start out as rivals but end up as friends. Check. You got your overprotective, competitive dad, in this case, two dads, and your sweet-tempered mom. Check. Stupid pets that keep jumping on people and getting into the food. Check. Big thumbs down. Check. Cheaper by the Dozen 2 is a loud and obnoxious extended sitcom. You know your movie's in trouble when the most sympathetic character is Carmen Electra, who actually gives a pretty good performance. Did I mention I'm giving this one thumbs down?
You know, I'm giving it a marginal thumbs up. I really am. And I'm telling you why.
Who are you, and what have you done
all,
with Roger Ebert?
First of all, he's right here.
Okay.
First of all, it's unfair to say this is a retread of Yours, Mine, and Ours, which in fact was a retread of the
They're all retreads.
of the original Cheaper by the Dozen. This is a lot better movie than Yours, Mine, and Ours. Will you give me that?
It's a little better.
No,
it's not as
okay.
bad. I'll say it's not as bad. I don't want to say
okay,
better or
okay.
good in any
I
context.
feel that for what it is, for what it says it is, and for what it pretends to be, it's marginal thumbs
You
up.
got dogs knocking over plates of food, and you
Of
got
course
people
you do.
falling down and stuff.
You
and
got to
it's
have
just-
that.
It's
Yeah,
depressing.
you
Talk about
forgot the
depressing.
dock that breaks away. You forgot that.
I'm trying to forget it all.